Hello, this is Gabe Moss along with Hugo Chorizo and Noah Clarman. Today, we'll be talking about is Calvin Johnson Hall of Famer, who wins the Stanley Cup next year, and college football championship predictions. Hugo, to start, is Calvin Johnson Hall of Famer?
I think he is because he put up the same numbers as Jerry Rice, and if you average it out, he put up the same number as Jerry Rice, because if he played as long years as Jerry Rice, he would have put up the same numbers. But Jerry Rice is a little bit better, and he is the greatest wide receiver of all time. But no doubt, Calvin Johnson is a Hall of Famer.
And no?
I have to agree. Calvin Johnson is definitely a Hall of Famer. Like you said, he did put up similar numbers over the 9-year span, and he had 7 seasons where he was over 1,200 yards receiving, which is very good. You also have to remember, everybody knows Jerry Rice's quarterback, by the way, Joe freaking Montana and Steve Young. Mm-hmm. Arguably two of the top 5 quarterbacks of all time, which is insane. Calvin Johnson, on the other hand, also had a good QB, but Matthew Stafford is nowhere near the level of play that Joe Montana and Steve Young were. So because of the way he played, although he did not play quite as long as Jerry Rice, even though Jerry Rice played playing 21 seasons and Calvin Johnson only playing 9, I think that he still could be a Hall of Famer and has had all the skills and play to represent that.
And Noah, who wins the Cup next year?
The what?
The Cup.
What I think will happen next season for the Cup, I predict that the Blues will come back. They're a young team. They've got a lot of good core players. And I think if they don't get too lazy next season and have a hangover because of their Stanley Cup championship that they had against the Bruins, I think they'll be back at it for another one.
And you go?
Okay, so initially everybody's saying, oh, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're the best team in the NHL. They're going to win the Stanley Cup. Well, that didn't prove right because of their early exit against the Blue Jackets. And so, if you look at this, the Bruins made it to the Stanley Cup. And if you look at what happened, the Blues really wanted it. They really, really wanted it. And I am happy for the Blues winning it, and because I think initially that the Blues should have gotten it. But this year, I think next year is going to be the Bruins. They're going to come back, and they're going to beat the San Jose Sharks, because the San Jose Sharks, if they make it back to the Cup, the Sharks are going to want it too, but the Bruins are going to want it even more. And then I think after that, the Sharks are going to want it a lot.
So for our third topic, who you got in the Canada Championship for college football? Hugo.
I think a lot of people are saying Alabama and Clemson and, Trevor Lawrence. And if you look at it, Dexter Lawrence and Christian Wilkins really carried that team, and Clyde Farrell really carried that team to their championship. But if you look at, because they had a great defense, but all of them left and went to the NFL. So Trevor Lawrence does not have his star defense that is backing him up while he's not on the field.
Right.
And so I think ultimately that Jalen Hurts is going to pull out a huge year for Oklahoma and win the Heisman, and then end up winning the college football playoff for Oklahoma, as Kyler Murray has left.
Yeah, I think that he's right about how Jalen Hurts is going to play. He's very mobile, good arm. He has all the tools to help this team. As we know, like he said, Clemson, it's crazy. They had 3 players on their just interior line in general out of the 4 go in the first round at the NFL draft, which shows how great of a team that they were on the defensive side of the ball. So with them being gone, it's going to hurt the team a little bit, and it's going to make it harder for them to get back to where they were. And I also think that Oklahoma will be back in it.
Who do you think will win the title though? Like Alabama, Oklahoma?
I think ultimately Oklahoma will.
Okay.
Well, that's all for today, folks. I'm Gabe Moss, Hugo Chorizo, and Noah Clemmer. This is where the Shine Not Shine Sports. Thank you and good night.
Follow us on Instagram and Twitter.